Good evening. We are live here for 50 laps of Road America Racing. A little bit of an issue in the first one. We're back here for 50 laps of Green Flag Racing. Daryl Morley alongside of Frosty St. Clair. And Frosty, we've got some different faces in this one and a different face sitting on pole.
Indeed, Daryl, and that is going to be a huge topic of conversation, I'm sure, long after this race is over. Richard Towler putting in a qualifying time while it was announced that the race was probably going to have to be restarted, and he is now sitting on the pole. So Richard Towler sitting on pole ahead of Rory King, who started first in the first race that had some technical difficulties and needed to be restarted. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this one, and if Richard has really done a whole lot of laps and testing, or if he just did some laps hot lapping and threw in a qualifying run, as the cars looks like they're on the grids now.
Indeed they are. Richard Towler in the number 1 machine will start on the pole. Outside of him is going to be Rory King. Richard Crozier inside of row 2. Outside is Theo Olsen, Elias Veras, Anthony Roselli, Andre Gomes, Harrison Weidlitz, Stefan Potier, I believe it is. Blake Townend is your 10th position starter.
Followed by Brad Davies, and then Ian Smythe, Kimo Somanen in the 13th spot, James Barrington 14th, PJ Sturgis 15th, Cyril Nussbaum in 16th, Henning Cordes in 17th. It looks like Alexander Fiore in 18th, Kevin Savoie in 19th, and Chris Damron Jr. in the 20th spot.
Josh Parker will start 21st position, the number 29 machine, followed by Sam Hazim in the 17, starting 22nd. Mark Dahlgren will take the number 7 machine to the 23rd spot, and then you're going to have to help me out with this one, Frosty. Matthias, what is it?
I believe it's Zatyu.
Zatyu, all right. Matthias Zatyu. I'll do my best to do you proud, Matthias. And Frosty, if I mess it up, feel free to slap me around. Stephen Gilbert will start in the 25th position. I know I've got that one right, although it could be Gilbert. Ken Leach will start in 26th. Dave Geimer, 27th. 28th is Chris Hannigan. 29th, we have Martin Buchan, I believe it is, and then Adam Bloom in the 30th position.
And rounding out the field, we got a full 34 this time by Jonathan Pearson starting 31st, Landon Harrison in the 32nd spot, Henrik Carlson in 33rd, and Bruno Ledore, I probably butchered that one, sorry, is in the last place starting position in 34th.
These drivers worked their way around this 14-turn racing complex, and really to a lot of people there's actually 16 turns, because turn 13 is broken up into 13 and 13A, as is turn number 3 broken up into 3 and 3A. Then there's a lot of people that'll say, well, you know what, the first 2 corners, I guess a lot of people consider it those first right-handers. A lot of people would say that's only 2 turns. It's counted as 3 turns here at Road America. And then, of course, the backstretch here, what would be the backstretch. The kink 11 and 11A is also broken up, also an 11B thrown in there as well. Very slight turns up on that backstretch, and plenty of elevation changes here at Road America, which, by the way, formerly known as Elkhart Lake.
And if you guys are joining us for the first time and missed the first start of this race, the big story here is going to be tire strategy and pit strategy, as the tire wear on these cars is major. Tire, we saw in the first start that lap times fell off by close to 2 seconds even after about 8 laps of running. So going to be a whole lot of different strategies going on today, Daryl, and that's going to be probably it's going to be for sure at least close to telling you who the winner of this race is going to be. And while Towler is on pole, it definitely didn't look like, I saw him in a practice session earlier, he was a bit off pace, and then bam, you know, he goes out there and he sets a pole setting time. But you have to wonder, how much race practice did he do? Does he know what strategy to use? And it's going to probably come into play, but it's going to be interesting because Towler is so fast.
And you know what? A good racer's a good racer. That's what we've always believed, and I believe Richard Towler will find a way to be at the front towards the end of this thing. And he had sort of he was heartbroken this past Tuesday night when he wound up having a very rough go of it, to say the least, at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Towler, as a matter of fact, wound up not finishing that one, and it was the first time this season he failed to finish every lap in a race. Pace car pulls off. The Pontiac Solstice will pull onto pit road as these drivers head up the hill and head towards the start-finish line here in Wisconsin. Green flag is in hand. There we go. Green flag flies. We are underway. Nice start for Richard Towler in the #1 machine.
Yeah, Richard Crozier tucked in right behind him. Looks like he might even get the second spot as they're going to work through turn 1. Oh, we got somebody off.
That's Weidlitz, Harrison Weidlitz, the #6 machine, down through the grass, and he winds up testing the tire barrier on turn #1. Immediately testing the tire barrier is Harrison Weidlitz. Tough break for Weidlitz.
And Rory King also is off, so oh man, this has got to be a heartbreaker for him. He led the entire first start of this thing, and looks like he got pushed off the track, and he is going to drop a lot of spots and possibly have some damage in that car, that number 3 car. So Rory King looked like he had a good shot at winning the first start of this race, and probably definitely not going to happen this time around.
Several drivers starting from the pits, opting not to be a part of the initial grid. James Barrington, Dave Geimer, Chris Hannigan, and Martin Buchan are coming from the pits, which is why they're showing on our screens so high in the British of that incident on the start as they go under the Johnsonville-Broad pedestrian bridge. Now you're looking at Rory King and his off here as he will give up what would have been a very strong third-place run here early in the going. I believe Rory King should be able to rebound from it. I don't think he damaged the car that badly.
Well, let's hope not. I know it did look like he had some contact with the wall there, so we'll have to see. Right now, it's out in front. It's the story of the two Richards. Richard Towler followed by Richard Crozier.
They work their way here at Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, Road America, as this is a 50-lap feature event. 4 miles around Road America, 50 laps, 4 miles, 200 miles total, which is, by the way, the Road America 200. That's why it's Road America 200, 4 miles per lap, and I believe we saw somewhere in the range of 20 to 25 shifts per lap. Was that what it was, Frosty?
That sounds about right. That's correct, Darryl. And as they come by the line the first time, Towler out in front, 0.3 of a second over Crozier. Theo Olsen up into the 3rd spot. Remember, in that first start, he had damaged his car and was really fighting it. So looking for a better run here for the oval whiz. Theo Olsen in the 3rd spot right now. Anthony Roselli in 4th. Blake Townend in 5th. Taking a look at the battle for 7th between Brad Davies, Andre Gomes, and I believe that is Elias Veras right there. About a 5-car train.
Davies finds himself on the outside of the exit of that most recent corner, and that's going to cost him a spot as Brad Davies in the number 10 machine here tonight. And the numbers handed out, I believe, by iRacing. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. When they join the server, the car numbers are sorted by the highest iRating. If you guys are watching this for the first time or wondering what the heck you're watching, this is simulated racing put on by iRacing. iRacing is a simulation and a service both. You should definitely go check it out, iRacing.com, learn all about it. It's about as cheap of a hobby or a way to go racing as you can do. And these tracks are all laser scanned, all extremely accurate, and a lot of real race car drivers use this as training tools. And these are some of the best in the business in sim racing that you're watching here today.
And not just as training tools, but just a way to go out there and have some fun. For example, PJ Sturgis, who races a small block super modified at Lee USA Speedway. Justin Belfiore, who's been a part of iRacing for quite some time. He's a super modified racer from way back. He's raced ISMA. He's raced everything you could put a driver into and been successful in everything he races. They go out here just to have a great time and have a blast. So yes, it can be used as a serious training tool, but just because you're not getting ready for a run at Daytona doesn't mean you can't go out there and have some fun.
Absolutely. I believe we're watching Blake Townend now as he's working Anthony Roselli. Looking down to the inside, I think he's going to have it here. Blake had moved up into, I believe, the 3rd spot, so he had a strong race car. Again, the real story here, Daryl, I think is going to be the different pit strategies all these guys are on. Blake could be lighter on fuel and not going as far into the fuel stop window as possibly Roselli is, and that's going to play huge into passing attempts that we're seeing now versus the overall race finish and where people end up at the end of the race. So it's going to be really interesting. Starting about lap 12, I think you'll probably start seeing some people possibly duck into the pits.
Yeah, you'll see people duck down onto pit road, and one of the strategies you'll use, you'll say, geez, I can comfortably go 20 laps without a pit stop. I'm comfortable with 20 laps. You'll say, okay, it's a 50-lap race. After lap 10, I can make my first pit stop and make it on 2 stops. I think you'll see a lot of these drivers go with a 2-stop strategy. Some of the quicker guys like Towler, Crozier, maybe even a guy like Theo Olsen, maybe already consigning themselves to a 3-stop race, knowing that they're going to use their tires and use their cars a heck of a lot more. As we had Roselli right down 4 tires in the grass here momentarily, got it gathered up, as Theo Olsen hanging with the Richard show.
Yeah, most definitely. I was just checking that out, Daryl. He's doing a great job. Towler's starting to get a little bit of gap out front. His last lap by a 2:10.7. Last lap by for Theo and Richard 2:11.1 and 2:11.2 respectively. So Towler's starting to pull away just a little bit. We'll check his lap time coming by the counter this time. 2:11.6, so Towler a little bit slower, but still he gained a lot of ground on 2nd and 3rd that lap. He's now leading by 1.3 seconds over Richard Crozier. And Theo Olsen right on the back door of Richard.
But Theo, what I'm noticing, Theo is just manhandling that 31 machine around this, or 34 machine rather, around this racetrack. He's literally cooking the rear tires out of these corners. Theo Olsen just abusing his equipment right now. And perhaps that's the way Theo Olsen needs to drive this racetrack. And far be it for me to question him. I don't see him saving his equipment as much as, for example, Towler, Crozier, or Townend, or Roselli. Theo Olsen is driving that car hard. He almost looped it again, coming through the corner there on the exit of corner. And I don't know that his tires are going to last nearly as long. He might be one of those drivers that's going to need 3 pit stops. He is gobbling up those tires.
Yeah, as we're taking a look at the 13th spot, but also just keeping an eye on Theo. That car is very sideways as we, I believe, watching Chris Damron Jr.
Slideways may be the term that we're looking for here, as Damron having a good run. He has worked his way up through the field nicely here. He's worked his way past PJ Sturgis most recently. Sturgis in the 8 machine now, was in the 7, now in the 8. That's because he had a higher I-rating driver join between the previous session and this session. That changes his number to 8. That higher I-rating driver, guy by the name of Towler.
We're watching a battle for the 10th spot now, as I believe that is Cyril Nussbaum, and he's got Stefan Patier right behind him. Just going back up to out in front, Richard Towler, last lap by 2:11.2, so Richard clicking off some pretty good laps. Imagine them, they are going to start slowing down, and it looks like Crozier is pulled away from Theo Olsen in 3rd. I think what's going to be interesting, Daryl, is for Towler, probably didn't get a lot of time to test his pit strategy and stuff like that. If I was Richard, which I'm not, but if I was, and you know that Richard's a very smart race car driver, but what he might be looking to do is to watch whatever Crozier is going to do behind him and then just pit one lap after that. That would be probably a good strategy if you didn't have a whole lot of time to test different strategies out there on the racetrack.
The other thing about a guy like Richard Towler, he's got so many laps and so many different machines, and people think of him and they go, oh, well, he's basically the NASCAR iRacing.com World Championship Series driver, and he is. He's the points leader over there, and he's one of the quickest drivers I have seen in those machines, and they say, well, he's got to be dedicating all of his time to this. He's got a feel for the software. He's got a feel for the simulation. He kind of understands what the car wants and where he needs to put the machine. It's not taking him long to take a liking to this particular road course at Road America. Towler doing a great job as we go back and take a peek at Andre Gomez, the number 2 machine, and Jonathan Pearson. There we go, Jonathan Pearson in the 28 machine, trying to find a way by him as well. As right now, early going, these drivers just kind of feeling each other out.
Yeah, no doubt, and again, I think the pit strategy is going to be huge. Just wanted to make a quick note on Blake Townend in the 4th spot last lap by. He had the fastest lap on track at 2:10.9, and he is closing up on Theo Olsen in a hurry. He could be a lot lighter on fuel and going to pit a lot sooner than maybe the guys in front of him.
We ride on board with Townend in the number 9 machine, and we'll take a lap with Blake Townend in the number 9 machine as he heads down into turn number 1 here at Road America. He'll work his way through turn 1. You can see the big slide. That's Theo Olsen directly ahead of us here as we head through 1, 2, and now we'll head towards turn number 3 here at Road America. Again, we'll see if Theo Olsen gets loose. He does not. Nice exit out of the corner for Theo Olsen down underneath the Sargento.com bridge as we continue on with a lap around Road America with Blake Townend in 4th position.
And again, Darrell, that last lap by for Blake, I believe another 2:10, double checking that. Actually, it was a 2:11.5. Sorry about that. So that rivals what Towler did, the 2:11.5. So he is running the same lap times as your leader. And Blake is on the is on the move. Let's see if he can get past Theo here and maybe make a run at the 2nd spot. He is definitely cranking out some fast laps. Last lap by for Crozier, a 2:11.7 in the 2nd spot. So he is definitely moving.
Theo Olsen may very well be my brand new hero. The simple fact that he hasn't turned that car around might very well make him my hero. Olsen has just been loose as all get up here in the early going. Theo Olsen driving that thing for all he is worth and getting every ounce of performance out of that machine, using every inch of racetrack and then some as he dips a couple tires in the dirt.
He is doing a lot of wiggling, isn't he, Darrell? He is hanging on. And he is definitely liking this start a whole lot better than the first one. The first one he had a little bit of trouble and I think probably damaged the car. And he's doing a good job right now hanging on to the 3rd spot, but he's got a whole lot of Blake right now in his rear view mirror.
You got to wonder how much Theo might be watching that rear view mirror as he slides it out here yet again at Road America. One of the more complex sections of this racetrack as they come out of turn number 14 and start to head up the hill, and the cars actually get real loose. You've got to be going straight when you get to the top of this hill. You crest the hill and the car gets real loose, and then you start heading downhill towards turn number 1 yet again, and a lot of speed carried, over 180 miles an hour momentarily for Blake Townend right there.
Towler that time by with fastest lap, 2:11.4. So he actually went a little bit quicker that time by. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all ran low 2:11 or 2:12s. Lap times are starting to drop off, and like we saw, or we spoke about earlier, it's going to be huge as to when to pit, because your lap times are going to drop off as much as 3, maybe even more than that seconds per lap as you get into your run. So it's going to be huge as to when you're going to pick to pit. Right now, just to give you a quick rundown, top 5, Richard Towler, followed by Richard Crozier, Theo Olsen, Blake Townend, and Anthony Roselli in the 5th spot.
Sixth spot belongs to Brad Davies. 7th is Ian Smythe. Alejandro Fior in the 8th position. Ciro Nussbaum in 9th, and running out your top 10 is Stéphane Potier. You know, one of the neat things that we have here, Frosty, is we're able to watch from all different types of angles and perspectives, and I may watch this entire race from the in-car with Blake Townend, because it's a spectacular racetrack. It's very nicely laid out, and it's beautiful here within the world of iRacing, and I'm really enjoying watching Theo Olsen just muscle this car around. He has just been willing this machine around the corners. Olsen has just been impressing the heck out of me.
He's doing an awesome job. A guy that's not necessarily known for his road racing skills, running out there with some of the best. Is Blake trying to get a run on him coming onto the main straight here. See if he can get a run going into turn 1. Doing a little snake job down the straightaway. Blake still continually put a lot of pressure on. He's got a good run on him here going into the first turn. Oh, looked like Leo got a, kind of the equivalent of a real car wheel hop there going into turn 1. Got a little bit loose, and now Blake's got another run on him. He is really putting some pressure on Theo Olsen, and all this is just letting the 2 Richards out in front get away.
And the 2 Richards starting to pull away. The best battle right now is between Olsen and Townend. And you got to wonder, how frustrating is it for Blake Townend right now to know that he's got Theo Olsen right in front of him. He's been loose as a goose. The 2 Richards are pulling away. Now Olsen up into the outside wall, lining up for the corner, opens the door for Blake Townend. Townend able to pick up the spot.
You know, as a road racer, you want to use all the track, but that was maybe a little bit too much there, Daryl. Let's see, let Blake by, and let's see if Blake can now pull away and maybe put some pressure on Richard Crozier for that second spot. We're working lap number 8. I would imagine we're probably about 6 laps away before you're going to start seeing some people pit. Theo hasn't given up yet. Oh, he got loose again.
It looked like Theo had to jump on the binders a little bit harder than he wanted to avoid getting into the back of Blake Townend's number 9 machine. And Theo does have a little bit of body damage on the number 34, as Theo Olsen, after slapping the wall with the right side of that machine, he does have some hood buckle.
That was a really good battle right there for the 3rd spot. And now Blake Townend back up into 3rd. See if he can chase down Crozier in the 2nd spot. Davies running in 5th now. He has gotten past Roselli. So Brad Davies having a good run, starting from the number 11th position in this race.
Number 25 machine, Stéphane Potier, trying to hold off PJ Sturgis. It's a battle for the 9th position. Stéphane doing a nice job hanging on to that number 25 machine, but PJ Sturgis getting a good look at the back bumper of that 25. Down to the inside, look, Sturgis out of the exit of turn number 14. They'll head up the hill. It looks like Sturgis might have a run on the number 25, may try to outbreak it into turn number 1.
Yeah, he definitely got a better exit off of that corner for sure, and he is close. It's hard to break for this corner. Not going to get it done this time.
Sturgis, by the way, has some front-end damage on the number 8 machine, so he's struggling with the contact that he had earlier on in the race. The number 12 machine dealing with a side-by-side. That's Ian Smythe side-by-side with the number 23 of Elias Ferris in the number 20. That's a battle for the 10th position, still side-by-side here at Road America.
Kevin Savoie right there behind him, ready to pounce if one of these guys makes a mistake. And one of them did.
Little bit of contact as Elias slid out into the number 12 machine. Got it gathered back up, did Elias, but he will lose that position, and that will allow the number 16 machine of Savoie to start tracking down the number 23 of Ferris.
A lot of good battles going on all over the track. Towler starting to pull away out in front, though. Savoie is telling his spotter to have some communications with some of the other drivers.
Looked like Varys tried to jump out of line, try to find a way around the number 12 machine of Smythe. Smythe able to hold on to that position at least for the time being. And it's such hard braking here at Road America. And one of the things these drivers have mentioned is that these brakes aren't very responsive. It feels like you've got to brake way early. As now, way to the outside goes Smythe into the dirt, and he will lose several positions in the number 12 machine. So several drivers right up by Ian Smythe, and Varys will take over that position. And again, maybe a little bit late on the brakes, but you really have to be careful with how much brake pressure you use, and that's where equipment can make a difference. Makes a little bit more of a difference here in the road course world than it does in the oval world. Oval world, your equipment, kind of whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you're used to. Here in the road course world, the better your equipment is, the better your braking might be.
Yeah, and I was just going to say before that too, Daryl, it looks like a lot of these guys, as you're watching some of their lines, is we got another off. It looks like Elias Varys off the track, and that's going to allow Kevin Savoie to go back through and pick up that, I believe that's the 9th spot. I think you're seeing a lot of guys starting to have problems with tires. They're missing their braking markers. The lines that they're running are slightly off. I think, you know, Towler's down into the 213s now out in front. Some of these guys running in the 216s. Their lap times are dramatically falling off. We're on lap 10. You got to imagine we're going to see some pit stops here before too long.
We have to see some pit stops before too long here, and this one is these drivers. And the elevation change, as there it is, turn number, I believe that's turn 6, almost a blind corner for these drivers. They cannot see over the crest of the hill as they come into the corner. There could be trouble in that corner, and they'd have no idea.
I've actually had that happen to me here before at this track, and it can happen pretty easily. Right now, it looks like Stefan Potier and PJ Sturgis battle for 7th and 8th is pretty close on track. On a completely random note, I just wanted to give a shout out to Ben Cornet's girlfriend Elkie.
Looks like Sturgis has worked his way by the 25 of Stefan Potier. So Potier now way up onto the rear bumper, almost gets into Sturgis, and off into the dirt and hard into the outside wall for Stefan Potier. What happened there for Stefan? Was it a misbraking deal, or did he maybe lock up the brakes? I'm not sure, but Potier just nailed the wall, and that was a large runoff area too.
Yeah, that's going to be the end of his race, I'm sure. He probably just got a little bit too deep into the corner, panicked a little bit, and probably locked up the tires or locked up the rear end, and the car was just sliding and just lost it, went off the track. Shame, he was having a good run, but he's going to have to retire that car. Meanwhile, leader working lap 11 here, last lap by 2:13. So again, we're seeing the lap time slow almost 2 seconds a lap by a lap 10 or 11, which leader on lap 11 now. He's got about a 3.5 second lead over Richard Crozier. Blake Townend, last lap by 2:13 as well. Hasn't really been able to make up any ground on the second place car, but he is keeping pace with him. One interesting note here, Daryl. Last lap by Theo Olsen, a 2:16.1. Brad Davies, a 2:14.1. So Davies making up quite a bit of ground on Theo on that last lap alone.
Davies almost a little over 2 seconds back from Theo Olsen last lap, and he should be able to make up a second or two here on Olsen. I think Davies was one of those drivers that not only did he have to start deeper in the field than he would like to have started, but Davies also may have been trying to conserve a little bit of tire wear here in the early going, and able to use up those tires a little bit now, knowing that he's starting to get closer to his first pit stop, perhaps trying to extend the life of those racing tires as much as humanly possible, where Theo Olsen, as we saw earlier on, there was just no extending those tires at all. Olsen was just all over it.
Speaking of that, sorry, Daryl, I didn't mean to break in on you there, but Theo went around, so I I'm going to have to try to take a look. I missed the start of it, but he has definitely gone around and lost at least one position. Probably saw Brad Davies coming and was trying to pick up the pace, and he has definitely gone around and probably picked up some damage on that car.
Oh, heavy damage for Theo Olsen. I'll double check and see how bad it looks. A lot of rear end damage and some side damage as well on Theo Olsen's number 34 machine, and it looks as though may have just slid out on the exit of one of these kinks, and around it went, and he pounded the concrete here on both sides of the racetrack. And actually, Brad Davies was lucky to make it through that without getting involved in that. He did make it through, however. Davies picks up the 4th position. Theo Olsen back to 5th and heavily damaged. Olsen's going to have to deal with the number 31 of Cyril Nussbaum very, very soon, as Nussbaum starting to track him down.
So we're taking a look at Theo Olsen. That car, we thought he was getting that car sideways earlier. Now it's really sideways after some damage to that car, as he is being chased down by, I believe that is Cyril Nussbaum right behind him. Or no, actually Cyril's in front of him, so PJ Sturgis is right behind Theo Olsen. And then right behind him, Kevin Savoy in the 8th spot. So Theo is going to have to, he's got a lot of work ahead of him there, Daryl, to keep that car in the top 10. As loose as he is and as much damage as he's got, and he's getting loose again. Looks like he's going to possibly lose another spot here.
He's not giving up on it, though. Theo Olsen giving it everything it's got, and Olsen may want to, he's going to duck down pit road. Smart move here for Theo Olsen. 12 laps in the books as Theo Olsen heads down pit road, along with, by the way, he's not heading down pit road alone. Cyril Nussbaum heading down pit road as well, as is Alejandro Fior, already on pit road. So Savoy will now go to work on trying to find a way by PJ Sturgis, the small block super modified racer and also midget racer at one point. PJ still young in his physical world racing career. A lot of great places that PJ could go, and you never know. You may see PJ racing on ESPN or on Fox one of these days on a Sunday afternoon. But right now you get to enjoy him here on a Saturday evening on iRacing.com as part of the PSR TV, iRacing.com broadcasting network.
And Daryl, as you were talking there, Towler has gotten, he had some trouble on the lap before, got really sideways coming up the hill, and now we have a new leader, Richard Crozier, out in front. Towler chasing him, going around the carousel, and Towler's car looks wicked loose. Looks like he has gotten a setup from Theo Olsen all of a sudden. And you're going to expect, I would think, to see Towler pit before long, but he's probably going to try to hang on to the back door of Crozier and at least try to go as long as he does before he pits. So really interesting development out in front. Rare mistake from Richard Towler.
But you know, if you're Richard Towler, you might want to just kind of sit back, relax, and watch the line that Richard Crozier is using, as they were using different lines. If you're Towler, you might want to adopt Crozier's line for just a little while, at least maybe the next, 20, 25 laps or so, then start altering your line, trying to find a way around Crozier. Crozier has been an absolute master here at this racetrack so far this week.
Yeah, it looks like he's done a lot of laps in practice, and he probably knows exactly what his strategy is, unlike Towler in the 2nd spot. Last lap by for Towler, 217.7, so not a good one. Blake Townend in 3rd. And Brad Davies up to 4th, but he is quite a ways back now. 216.3 last time for Davies. Let's check Crozier's last lap. 2:14.7 for the leader on that last lap. Possibly got held up a little bit by Towler's spin and trying to get around Towler. So running around 2:14 second laps, and when you're capable of running 2:10s on new tires, you would expect to see these guys in pretty soon, I would think.
Brad Davies had a little scary moment seconds ago in the number 10 machine, dipped a couple tires off into the dirt, gathered it back up, but Davies, who is right now sitting in the 4th position, plenty of room behind him, but a whole long way ahead of him. Brad Davies over 17 seconds back from Richard Crozier.
Just give you guys a quick update too. Kevin Savoy has gotten around PJ Sturgis for that 5th spot. Looks like PJ got a little bit sideways, and Kevin has worked his way around. These guys have been doing a pretty good job of working their way all the way up through the field to where they are now. And with everybody's tires starting to fall off, you're starting to see a lot of cars sideways. One guy that's kept his car under control, though, has been Richard Crozier out in front. And it almost looks like he stretched his lead out over Towler just a bit.
Crozier and Towler, your top two. Townend sits in second. Brad Davies, or Townend is in third, I apologize. Brad Davies is fourth. Fifth is PJ Sturgis. Sixth is Kevin Savoy. Seventh, Mark Dahlgren. Eighth is Elias Ferris. Ninth, Ian Smythe. And running out your top 10 right now in the running order, Adam Bloom.
And we got Towler into the pits. Crozier did not pit, neither did Blake. So, interesting turn of events here. Davies is not going to pit either. So it looks like possibly with, looks like, did Kevin pit? Kevin Savoy is into the pit. So, yeah, big change up there in the top 5 now. Crozier, Townend, Towler into the pits. Davies not into the pits. Sturgis not into the pits. So big shake up there in the top 5.
So interesting as we already start to see with 14 laps complete, working lap number 15, as we're starting to see the pit strategy start to show itself here. Crozier able to go at least another lap longer than guys like Richard Towler and several other racers out there. I would venture to say Crozier can probably go to lap 18 or 19 before he even considers pitting.
Well, I think we're going to see Crozier in on this lap, to be honest, Daryl, because I think he's got to know that Towler was about 2 seconds behind him before he pitted just now, and on new tires he's going to be running at least 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster. So you don't want to go too far before pitting. I'd expect to see Crozier in this lap time by, unless he's going to try that 2-stop strategy that we spoke about.
And I think right now you kind of have to look at that 2-stop strategy. If Towler needs to pit every 15 laps, that means he'll be in next at about lap 30, and then he'll have to consider coming down at lap 45 with 5 laps to go. 5 laps around this racetrack with worn-out tires is an absolute nightmare. I think the guys that are saving tires, trying to make it a 2-stop race, I think they're the ones that are going to have this thing in their hands.
And Crozier not pitting, so you would think that is going to be his strategy. He's going to try to make it as long as he can go, but man, I don't know if you can make it on 2 stops. It's going to be interesting. I thought I had heard, I'll have to double check, I'll go down and see if I can get some word from somebody, but I thought I heard these cars will only make it about 20 laps, so if that's the case, you'd at least have to do some kind of splash and go. I'll have to double check that though.
Well, no, because your first pit stop would take you to 20. Your opening race fuel run would take you to lap number 20. Your first pit stop would take you to lap number 40. So you would need that second pit stop, and you're good to go. I think it's doable on 2 pit stops. I think we'll see several drivers make 3. You're not doing it on 1, but several drivers will do 3. I think you'll see several drivers make it in 2 stops.
You're absolutely right. It was complete math fail on my part.
That's all right. We'll get the mathematical version of the fail whale out for you. Maybe the folks from Whale Wars will help to protect that bad boy. As we're looking back to the, I believe, 17th position, Dave Geimer in the 21 machine as he's passed up. That's Pearson working his way by Geimer. Pearson, the number 28 machine. Pearson up over the hill. As you can see, the front ends of the cars literally lift up just a little bit over the top of that hill.
Yeah, good battle there, and Blake Townend pitted on that last lap, so we're going to see some more shaking up in front.
We're receiving word that Theo Olsen is out of this one, as is Kevin Savoy and Chris Damron Jr. Also looks like he might be done as well. Not quite sure what went down. Maybe the damage is too much for Theo Olsen. I'm not really sure. But either way, they're done.
Yeah, it's...
Crozier finds himself in looking like he might be coming towards some traffic. However, that number 25 machine, pretty darn quick. That's Potier. As I believe I'm slaughtering his name, aren't I, Frosty? Stefan Potier.
You know, I'm not sure.
Well, if I am Stefan, I apologize, but Potier looks like he may have made a recent pit stop, which is why he's able to get that good run on the number 5 machine of Richard Crozier, start to pull away from Crozier. However, Crozier, I think right now, just biding his time, waiting to get to lap number 20 or 21.
Right now, everybody is jumping around a lot on the leaderboard. The leaderboard currently showing with all the pit stops happening. Crozier, Davies up to second, Sturgis in third, Dahlgren in fourth, Towler in fifth. But you would expect to see those to continue kind of jump around as people make their pit stops.
And, you know, this might be a good time, since we've got nice big wide gaps between drivers here, to start pointing out some of the differences between a successful road racer, for example, Richard Crozier, or a successful oval racer. A guy like Richard Towler, who looks like he may have the opportunity to do the double here and show success on both disciplines of racing. But yes, it's still the same style of racing. It's still simulated racing. Yes, it's the same software, and oftentimes, as it is here today, it can be the same car as well. But the skill set that is required to be fast on a road course is different from the skill set that's required to be fast on an oval. One doesn't require more skill than the other. They just both require different skills.
Well, I can definitely attest to that, because as we were just watching Blake Townend, and then he had made a pit stop and he'd gotten by another car, and he's running, I believe, now in 8th. Yeah, I am one of those guys that is quick on the road courses, as Crozier is into the pits now, but I'm not so good on the oval. So now Crozier into the pits. The real question is Towler running in the 5th spot. We're going to have to check and see where he is on the track to see if he can get back around and get past Crozier.
He's about 37 seconds back last time by the stripe. We'll see if that's going to allow Towler to get by him. I think he should. A slow entry in, a long pit stop to fill the tank up with fuel, change all 4 tires, and get it back out on the racetrack. I think Towler should be able to pass him up, and it looks like Towler will likely shoot right by, as everybody else that was behind Crozier has decided to come on down, looks like, and make a pit stop. As, yep, here comes at least a, was that Towler? Yeah, it looks like that was, no, it was not Towler going by him. But Towler should have gotten by him, as Blake Townend also got by him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Townend has gotten by Crozier as Crozier pitted there. It looked like that as Crozier was coming into his pit stop, just as he had stopped, there was maybe about a 2-second gap between when he actually stopped into his stall between when Towler went by. So a big discrepancy there as to, you know, Towler on newer tires probably making up a whole lot of time as Crozier was out there on old tires. And last lap by for Towler as a testament to that, a 2:10.8, one of the fastest laps of the race. So making up a ton of time on the new tires was Richard Towler.
But is he making up too much time right now, Frosty, is the big question. Is he making up too much time on those new tires and using the good off from those racing tires? That's the question. I think Richard Crozier right now very happy with the way his car is handling, very happy with the way this race is unfolding. He worked to lap 17, 18. That's going to bring him all the way to 34, 35, maybe even 36 before he has to pit again, and then he'll have just a 14-lap run. And I think Crozier is just as fast as anybody else on the short run, but I think he's faster than everybody on the long run.
Very well could be. I think a big question now is with the different pit strategies. He's got Townend right in front of him, and if he is quicker than him and Townend holds him up, that could definitely play into Towler's hands. It's going to be interesting to see if Crozier can get up there to Townend, and if he does, how long it's going to take him to get past, as it looks like he is making up some ground. It does look like also that maybe there's some traffic as far as Crozier and Townend talking to each other's spotters just a second ago. We weren't quite sure what was said. Looks like this time by for Crozier, well, that was coming out of the pits. Townend last lap by at 2:11.2, so a pretty quick lap for Blake as well.
Yeah, Blake Townend going nice and quick as we're going to go on board with one of the masters here in the world of road course racing. We'll get to ride along with Richard Crozier.
Quick update too as we're watching Richard work the track. Last lap by for Towler, 2:10.4. So Towler has definitely gotten the word that he needs to push.
I love listening to the tires just scream for traction as these drivers muscle these big lumbering stock cars around these road courses. And stock cars were never really intended to be driven on a road course. That's not what they've been built to do. However, they've made them work quite well here in the world of road course racing. And I've always believed that the only way to really find the quote-unquote best drivers is to make them race all potential disciplines. And I've always said that the most talented drivers, I guess you would say, they're not in Formula One. They're maybe not even in the Cup Series in NASCAR. Most talented drivers, in my opinion, they're racing rally cars all around the world on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I'd almost have to agree with you on that. Those guys are amazing, for sure. Crozier was pretty close to Townend just a few moments ago, but it looks like the gap is maybe stretched back out just a bit.
Take a quick run through your field. Your race leader is the number 1 machine of Richard Towler. Towler, who started from the pole, went back through the course of using up some tires, making a pit stop, but he's back up in that number 1 position. Just about 10.8 seconds back from him, however, we find Blake Townend, who's now being passed up. Never mind, it's not Blake Townend anymore, it's Richard Crozier. Crozier works his way by Blake Townend. Crozier, the number 5 machine, has been the odds-on favorite here at Road America all week long until some guy named Towler showed up, and before that, it was when some guy named King showed up as well. Behind Crozier, we do find Blake Townend, who we were going to tell you about momentarily. Blake, who gave us such a great view from inside the car, looking at the Theo Olsen machine earlier on in the race. Olsen has since retired from the event, unfortunately. Way behind them, we find Brad Davies, and I do mean way behind them, in the number 10 machine. Davies, who started deep in the field, has very calmly, very patiently worked his way forward. Brad Davies showing a lot of patience, a lot of maturity here in this race, and that's been one of his hallmarks, I guess you could say. Brad Davies showing a lot of patience out here at Road America. Running out your top 5, the number 8 machine, small block super modified standout and longtime racer in the physical world, and he has a lot of racing left ahead of him. PJ Sturgis, the number 8 machine, the New England native. PJ having a solid run, albeit 42 seconds back from your race leader, Richard Towler. Sturgis running quite well in the 5th spot.
Absolutely, and Daryl, I just wanted to mention before we continue with the run down the field, I'm almost positive that there was some communication between Crozier and Townend, and that pass was communicated through spotters, and I think Blake let him through. So Blake probably knew that Crozier had a faster car and didn't want to hold up either of their progress, as they know right now that they are trying to battle Towler for that spot, as they are on different strategies. Continuing on as we go down through the field, Jonathan Pearson in the 6th spot. He has climbed quite a bit up. Oh, and looks like we have an off by Jonathan. Yeah, not real good timing for Jonathan. We apologize for that. And that's going to allow Elias Veras up into the 6th spot now, as he is running the number 23 car as he's coming onto the main straight. And Jonathan going to lose quite a bit of positions, as we'll kind of let them come around and sort that out. Looks like Hannigan Cordes running in the 6th spot now, I believe, or 7th spot, I apologize. Yeah, Henning Cordes now in the 7th spot. Mark Dahlgren right behind him in the 8th spot with the red and white car number 7. And then running in 9th, Jonathan Pearson. We just saw him a few moments ago as he had a slight off, running the number 28 car in the 9th spot. Hopefully no damage done there on that off. And then rounding out the top 10, and the number 22, not too far behind Jonathan Pearson, Adam Blum up into the 10th spot.
Running in the 11th position is Ian Smythe in the number 12 machine. Smythe having a nice run here just outside the top 10. In the 12th position is Kimmo Suominen, as Suominen had some difficulty earlier in the race, had a little bit of contact with PJ Sturgis on the opening laps, and Kimmo still trying to gather it back up. Chris Hannigan started deep, and I mean deep in the field, and Hannigan has worked his way up into the number 13 position with that 33 machine. Rory King in the number 14 position, that 3 machine for Rory King, as we're on board with Rory King. Rory has had a solid run after having an off earlier on in the race on the opening lap. Rory gathering it back up and getting it back underway, and right behind him, the number 13 machine, usual oval standout Landon Harrison.
Yeah, Landon doing a good job. I believe he started 32nd on the grid all the way up to 15th. Running in the 16th spot behind him is Martin Buchan. Stefan Potier in the 17th spot. Sorry about that. Dave Geimer in 18th. Henrik Carlson in 19th, and Stephen Gilbert in the 20th spot. And I believe
several drivers listed behind the Gilbert machine. Sam Hazim in the number 17 machine, showing in the 21st position. Anthony Roselli looks like he has retired. So 21 drivers remain here in this one, as the remainder of this field has retired from this competition. Towler, your leader, by just about 6 seconds, six and a half seconds over Richard Crozier.
Yeah, and Daryl, that has shrunk quite a bit because Towler on the last lap had a slight off. Last lap by for Towler, 2:16 flat. Last lap by for Crozier, a 2:11.2. So Crozier is still clicking off the quick lap times, and Towler losing quite a bit of time on that last lap by. So these guys in a battle of pit strategies, and Towler didn't do himself any favors with that off. Just wanted to remind you guys, especially if this is the first time you're watching, this is simulated racing. These guys are connected via the internet, from all over the world, racing through the iRacing service. It is a simulated racing service. They actually offer I guess the proper word would be a racing organization to join and set these races up. Racers of all skill levels, all kinds of racing. If you've never seen it before, you should definitely need to go iRacing.com and check it out. It's definitely a great hobby to get into, especially if you're a racing fan.
Yeah, racing fan, aspiring racer, great ways to get involved in this. And we talk about sim racing or simulated racing, which is what we're seeing here. It's a great way to get out there and have some fun, but you can also potentially build a career from it. TJ Majors, his association with Dale Earnhardt Jr. started in the world of sim racing, and let's not forget the success that other sim racers have had. Dale Earnhardt Jr. being the most high-profile sim racer, but there's a lot of them out there. Denny Hamlin used his sim racing experience to bring himself to the Pocono Sweep in his rookie season.
Out in front, Towler last time by, 212.9, Crozier a 211 flat. So Crozier starting to put some pressure on.
Crozier can actually see Towler through the windshield at RoadAmerica. Now Towler gets a little bit smaller as Crozier slides around here as those tires starting to wear in just a little bit. Let's not forget an extra 4 laps on those tires for Richard Towler over Richard Crozier. That's going to be a significant advantage here as this run continues on.
Absolutely. Towler a little bit loose on that last corner there, as we saw just a second ago. Again, Crozier trying to chase him down. We're going to check their lap times as they come by, but that gap does appear to continually be shrinking. Crozier coming onto the main stage, and Towler into the pits.
Towler coming down pit road, and earlier than last time, he's only had 8 laps on those tires, 8 or 9 laps on those tires, as opposed to the 15 he made earlier. I don't know, it seems like it might be unraveling for Richard Towler unless he's trying to make this last pit stop now. I don't foresee him going 26, 27 laps on fuel and tires, though. No way.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's even possible fuel-wise, so Crozier looking like he is sitting in a pretty good spot. Of course, Towler could be, man, he's such a talented guy, and he's been around sim racing a long time. I'm sure he's bound to have some kind of plan to have pitted that quick on a short pit stop that time. It looks like Townend, is he also into the pits? Really interesting, Darryl. We might be looking at possibly Crozier may be the only one on a 2-stop strategy.
Crozier looked solid out here, and I think the odds-on favorite remains the odds-on favorite here in this one. Richard Crozier just putting on a clinic here in this one as he has pulled away as we're searching around the racetrack looking for anybody that might be within earshot or eyeshot of another driver. The 23 machine in 6th position could have a good battle brewing up for the 5th spot as Elias Ferris trying to find his way to the back bumper of PJ Sturgis. Sturgis holding down a top 5 spot here.
Yeah, good run for PJ. He's a pretty solid road racer, and he has got Elias Ferris right behind him. Probably closest battle for sure in the top 10. Everybody else pretty spread out, or they're doing the strategy game, which has caused them to be pretty spread out on track. Daryl, I believe these guys aren't just racing for pride out here. I believe they're also racing for some prizes too as well, aren't they? Yeah, they are racing for prizes, and the prize here
tonight, and kind of a pretty cool prize. I wouldn't mind having this prize myself. A case of bratwurst. That's a pretty darn cool prize. As several times you'll see the bratwurst, Johnsonville bratwurst signage here at Road America, and really kind of neat to see that having a little bit of fun here with the prizes. Personally, I wouldn't mind having a case of Johnsonville brats. Fire up the grill, have a great time. And it is summertime, it's grill season, why not?
Absolutely, I wouldn't mind that either at all. It's like Towler, who has made a pit stop, is now coming up on that battle we were just watching a few moments ago between Elias Veras and PJ Sturgis. So that's PJ's up into the third spot right now. And Towler is going to, this is going to be interesting because you know Towler is not going to want to wait to get around these two guys. He's going to want to push so that he can turn some quick lap times. And probably not the best situation. This is probably not what Richard wanted to see here.
Definitely not what Richard wanted to see here, but it looks like the number 23 machine of Veras giving some room. That's a smart move from Veras. You get a car coming up on the back bumper who's been extremely quick, has fresh tires. Let him go. Let him go. Let him deal with PJ Sturgis. If you can stay close enough, and it doesn't look like he's able to right now, if you can stay close enough, though, he'll open up a door. Maybe you can get by PJ when he passes him up.
Yeah, he definitely dropped back quick. You would have expected to see him, especially since he was running right there with PJ, and it looks like Veras having a little wiggle there behind this battle, and now Townend's going to pull up behind him, and he's going to have that same situation again, another fast driver on new tires, and it still is going to see how quickly. Looks like Towler's going to make a move past PJ here, and made pretty quick work of both of those guys, so that wasn't too bad for Towler.
And also wasn't too bad for either of those drivers involved in that quick pass, as PJ Sturgis able to pull away from Veras in the number 23 machine. Veras now will have to contend with Blake Townend, the number 9 machine, as Blake Townend has caught up with the number 23 machine. That would be a battle for the 4th position, as Sturgis was just passed up for that 3rd position. Richard Towler moves up into 3rd as Blake Townend goes to work on the 23.
Yeah, it looks like Veras, I don't know if he went to the inside too slow to let Townend by, or if he was actually trying to block. I think, yeah, he just went to the inside to let him by. Townend going fast now. We're on board with him. So he is making his way through traffic. But Towler definitely made up some time on Townend as they were working their way through that traffic. And like you mentioned, PJ made up some time on Veras as well. So things shook up there just a bit.
Oh, indeed, things have been shaken up here just a little bit. And it happens with this differing strategy. And one of the things that these drivers are dealing with, that maybe they're used to more of the oval stuff, there is no full course yellow. We have localized yellows, but no full course, as Veras slides off the racetrack just a little bit, loses some ground on the number 23 machine. No full course yellow, which means there's no chance of bunching this field back up.
Yeah, quite a bit different from what some of the normal oval guys are used to. Yeah, there's kind of no second chances in this. Big, mistakes are big, and just keeping the car on track and rolling is huge. And I would expect that we're probably going to see Veras in here for pit stop pretty quick, because he is definitely sliding around quite a lot. Just a quick note on Rory King, who has qualified 2nd. He has worked his way back up into 12th, and maybe possibly even looking at a top 10 finish here for Rory. So that's great by him that he didn't just give up on the race after he had trouble there at the start, and he is making his way back up through the field. It was real sideways there.
Yeah, several big wiggles for Rory King, and you've got to wonder if there was any damage to that machine, if it's altered the suspension or whatnot on the machine, if it's altered the way that machine handles the initial off here in the early going, or if it's just a psychological deal for Rory King. Has it changed the way he's approaching this race? Is it perhaps a little bit of anger showing on the part of Rory King? Is that perhaps why that car seems to be sliding out just a little bit more?
Well, you would think probably. I mean, I know I would be upset, and it does look like he has some front-end damage on that car, so it's probably not behaving the way that he would like, and he's probably a little upset as well. So it's, you know, all of that combined is probably not. This isn't going to be Rory's best performance for sure, is because of all that, and he's going to duck into the pits. And right behind him, Landon Harrison, who I believe just snuck into the field, who is an oval driver, is going to go past him for the 12th spot now. So Landon doing a good job out there as well.
And one of the things that Landon's been able to do in that number 13 machine, Landon has kept the car relatively clean. He's been keeping the machine on the racetrack, keeping all 4 tires on the asphalt whenever possible, and not a lot of bent up sheet metal on that number 13 for Landon Harrison. Nice solid run for Landon Harrison. Consistency, perhaps the key here for the number 13 of Landon Harrison.
Just a quick note to Richard Towler, fast lap of the race so far with a 2:10.4 in his last lap pass. Ooh, was that Townend having problems possibly? Yeah, Townend is around. Trying to take a look and see what happened to Townend. I believe we're taking a look at Stephen Gilbert as he spun around, and Townend lost it going through the kink and just couldn't quite save it. He got a little bit too much up on the curb, and he's probably going to have some damage on that car, and that might hurt his chances of a top 3. So now Davies might be sneaking in there for a possible top 3, Daryl.
Brad Davies right now showing in the 2nd position, and consistency. We've talked about consistency, and Brad Davies has been showing that consistency in the Whiskey River sponsored ride. Davies up into the number 2 position, and if he can hold off one of his nemesis in the Oval Series, Richard Towler, Brad Davies could have a 2nd place finish here in this one, as we are beyond the halfway point.
Yeah, and Townend went ahead and came into the pits to try to get some new tires on that car and see if he could make it behave as best as he can, at least. He's back out of the pits now, and we'll have to try to let a couple laps cycle through to see where he's going to end up, but that is definitely going to hurt his shots. He was looking good for a possible top 3, and I'm afraid that's probably going to put a damper on that, but we'll have to see if he's got how much damage he has on that car. So you're right, Davies is definitely very consistent on the road courses. He does an amazing job and very rarely makes mistakes, and now he's looking like he's sitting pretty for a possible podium finish here.
And he's done it, again, with that consistency that he's been showing for several years in his racing experience. Fantastically talented driver is Brad Davies. He's showing that, you know what, that talent can transform over or transcend over from the oval side and also start to show itself on the road course side. Brad Davies just doing a great job, and he's impressed me. He has certainly impressed me with his patience here tonight. We've talked about the patience earlier on with a horrible starting position for Brad Davies. He has showed that patience, and he's continued to make it work. And that's the key. Somehow, some way, he finds a way to make it work. And I've often said, if it's important enough to you, you'll find a way to make it happen. Brad Davies is finding a way to make it happen.
Speaking of doing work, Towler coming up on the back of Brad Davies now. He's not far behind him. As you can see that he's got him right there in his sights. So Towler doing some work and catching up to Davies. And I was going to mention before Townend went around there a few laps ago, Daryl, fast lap of the race has been Richard Towler's 2:10.4, and just 2 laps ago Richard Towler did a 2:10.5, so Towler definitely on the move here.
So Towler using a little bit of a different strategy. I'm not quite sure about Richard Towler's strategy with the frequent pit stops. He may have had an issue, may have felt that a tire was going down, or may have felt that he had used up the good in the tires. And I'm not really sure on why that pit stop so early recently, but now his chances to catch Crozier have just gotten even more slim. And if you're Richard Crozier, you've got to be just licking your chops, saying to yourself, oh man, those brats are going to taste good.
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny you mentioned you're not really sure about Towler's pit strategy. I'm not sure Richard Towler's sure about Richard Towler's pit strategy, because again, I think this race was very last minute, that I'm sure we're going to see Davies just pull over and let Richard go, because he is so much faster right now on those newer tires. Towler's last lap by there, 2:12.5. I'll try to check Crozier's 2:14.6. So right now, Towler about 2 seconds quicker a lap than Crozier. Oh, Crozier very loose, almost lost it.
Crozier starting to communicate a little bit with the drivers around him, as Towler has tracked down the Davies machine. Brad Davies right there in front of Richard Towler. Towler on the back bumper is, well, you know what? I'm about 30 seconds behind you guys. I'm going to go ahead and catch up here, and now I can see that Towler has passed up Brad Davies. Brad Davies now, and all he can do is just watch that rear bumper, and back of that Richard Towler machine just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It's got to feel almost like he's at Charlotte Motor Speedway again.
Well, I think these guys, both of these guys, most likely looking at one more stop each. So good shot here for a podium, at least for Davies. He's definitely going to watch Towler kind of creep away a bit on those newer tires, but probably won't be too long before Davies is into the pits and gets some new tires himself. So you expect right now it to be Richard, and Brad, but anything can happen. PJ Sturgis running in the 4th spot right now. He's about 15 seconds or so, maybe 16, 17 seconds behind Brad Davies in the 4th spot.
Blake Townend trying to pick up position number 9. He'll work around the outside of Kimmo Suominen. He will pick up that 9th position. Townend again with some newer tires than Kimmo Suominen, able to pass him up pretty easily. Kimmo doesn't put up much of a fight here with older tires, and this again goes back to showing the smarts of these drivers, Frosty. The last thing you need to do, especially with 21 laps to go, is start battling for a position and put 2 cars in the wall and end your chances.
Absolutely, Daryl, and not only that, I mean, these guys are smart enough to know that a lot of them are on different strategies. Kimmo probably realized that Blake was on a lot newer tires. It's good to see that Blake is still clicking off some pretty decent laps after that incident that they had earlier. This last lap pass for him, a 2:11.3. So hopefully that car is not damaged too much, as he is still turning pretty quick laps. But yeah. These guys absolutely smart enough to know, being on such different strategies, there's no need in fighting somebody that's 2 seconds a lap faster than you due to different tires or newer tires. That is.
Especially with the different strategies being shown here thus far in this event. And one of the things that's really impressed me with these drivers and the way they're handling this event is the fact that this racetrack is a very difficult racetrack. You go, 50 laps. Come on, I can handle 50 laps. No problem at all. But you seem to be forgetting it's two minutes plus per lap, and you're turning right and left. Elevation changes, a lot of intense racing out there. You're looking at well over 2 hours of pure intensity.
Yeah, not only that, I think you can see just by watching the drivers that the real trick is when the tires start to go off. I mean, these guys are wicked loose when the tires are going away, and lap times are dramatically falling off. I mean, can see Crozier last lap by was a 2:15. This lap by was a 2:14. Looked like he almost went off in turn 1. So he's probably struggling a bit with the tires. I would expect, we're working lap 32, you would expect to see him in pretty soon.
I'd say within 3 laps you'll see him come down, possibly, I would say, you know what, I'm going to go out on a limb. Not this time by, next time by, Crozier will come down pit road for his second and final visit to his pit crew, and perhaps they'll hand him a box of chocolates, maybe a fresh bottle of water through the window, and Crozier will be back out and on the racetrack. And this is just a Saturday evening stroll for Richard Crozier right now, 28 seconds ahead of Richard Towler, knowing that Towler has to pit at least one more time.
Yep, and I think before the last stop, Towler was 31 seconds adrift to Crozier, so Richard's made up a couple seconds, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough, I don't believe, especially if Towler does indeed have to pit again. And Brad Davies letting Sam Hazim go past as he is unlapping himself from Davies. Davies on probably very old tires here, as he's probably due in soon too as well, Daryl.
Yeah, Davies' last lap, a 2:16.5. Very well off the pace of what they have been turning earlier on. The guy that's been quickest in the recent run has, well, now I can't even find him on the scoreboard. There he is, Blake Townend, 2:11.8. As Townend with some newer tires. However, Townend mired back in 9th position, over a minute and 20 seconds back from Crozier.
Yeah, Blake turning off some pretty quick laps. I just checked as you were saying that Towler's last lap was a 2:13, so right now he's the fastest car on the track. That's also helping in Crozier that Towler is starting to slow, or at least got held up in traffic, and that last lap was slower because you know, every little bit's going to help Crozier at this point just feel better about everything that's going on. And Townend definitely clicking off some fast laps, trying to make up for lost time after that spin earlier in the kink.
Blake Townend continues to work his way through this field, encountering what looks to be potentially lap traffic. The number 30 is at 33 or 32. Hard shot to the back bumper, and that's not going to help Townend's forward progress. And you can't go bending these machines up and expect to be successful. Townend throws up a quick apology to the driver he just got into. I believe that was is that Henrik Carlson that Townend got into?
I think that was actually Chris Hannigan, and I think Chris probably just slowed to let him go, but you can't really slow to let somebody go when they're that close behind you. And it's hard to tell. Chris's tires could just be really worn out and maybe just didn't get a good drive come on off the corner, but you're right, it did look like Blake did throw up an apology for that, so hopefully he didn't get any damage there.
Looks like at least some cosmetic damage on the front end with Blake Townend, but Townend is the driver on the move now, trying to track down the number 7 machine of Mark Dahlgren, oddly enough, for that 7th position as they head underneath the Sargento.com cross Rover Bridge, footbridge I believe it is.
As you're watching that, I'm just taking a look at Crozier here. You said that he would be in on this lap, and it looks like he's going to go one more.
Why not? I don't blame him. I'd go as many as you possibly can. Yeah, he's losing 2 to 3 seconds a lap to Richard Towler. That's okay, though, because Towler still has to pit. And I would say Towler's not going to go much further beyond 34, 35 laps anyways.
Yeah, 2:15.1 for Crozier last lap by, and a 2:12.8 for Towler. Davies really struggling with those tires. He is on the grass. Brad Davies off track. He is really struggling on those old tires. I would expect to see Brad come in. He's off again. He might have a flat, actually, Daryl. Brad Davies into the pits. I think he might have actually had a flat tire because he went off a couple times in just 2 turns. And he is into the pits now. So this is going to be Brad's last stop, happening on lap 34.
So Brad Davies, and if he does have a flat tire, pretty good timing to be able to get down onto pit road, make his final pit stop. And I would assume Crozier will come down pit road this time in the number 5 machine, make his final pit stop, as will Richard Towler very, very soon have to come down pit road and make a pit stop, as it's been a while since Towler has been on pit road and had the services of his crew.
And I was just checking PJ Sturgis, who's now up into the 3rd spot. Looks like his last pit stop was lap 18, so you would expect to see him in pretty soon as well.
Sturgis up in the 3rd position, having a solid run. And how cool would it be for PJ Sturgis to nail a top 5 here, live on a broadcasted event here on iRacing.com, the PSR TV Broadcasting Network, as Crozier has just dominated this thing from about, I'd say, about lap 10 or 11 on.
Yeah, Towler looked like he was going to run away with it, and Crozier now ducking into the pits. So we're going to be pitting basically on lap 35. He'll come out of the pits on lap 35 anyway. Towler looked like he was going to run away with it, had a slip up. Crozier went past and has not looked back since. So Crozier definitely looking like he is in control. We'll take a look back at Towler as he's coming onto the main straightaway, about to pass the start-finish line. So he's going to pass Crozier before he gets to his pit stall. But, again, Towler going to have to make one more stop, we do believe. See if PJ Sturgis also ducks into the pits. He's coming onto the main straight. And PJ into the pits as well, out of 3rd place.
I think this is a smart move for PJ Sturgis. I mean, you're looking at 15, 16 laps between now and the end of this one. Come on down, 16 laps to go. Get the tires that you need, get the fuel that you need. Get on back out there and finish up with this race. He's done a great job, especially with that damaged machine, the front end severely damaged on the number 8 machine of PJ Sturgis. Obviously just cosmetic, but still it's got to mess with you just a little bit because you can see the damage from the cockpit.
Yeah, absolutely. Crozier back out of the pits now, I believe. Towler now inheriting the lead for the moment. Sturgis was in the 3rd spot. Davies is going to go back past. Looks like watching Elias Veris. See, it looks like he's also going to go past Sturgis as well, I do believe. Oh no, Sturgis is out before Elias gets there. So Sturgis in and out. You're going to be able to hang on to 4th, but Veris not all that far back. Lots of pit stops happening here, Daryl. Looks like Hannigan. I believe Townend was into the pits as well. Somanen. Lots of people doing their final stops of the race. Leader going to come around and start lap 36 here before long. Richard Towler.
So Towler, we do anticipate he'll be coming down pit road very, very shortly for his pit stop, although he does not come down this time. So Richard Towler continues to lead. There's no way, absolutely no way, Richard Towler's going to hold on for another 15 laps after having already gone, I believe, a good 10 to 12 laps. With this set of tires on there, I don't believe there's any way he can do it.
That's a good question, Daryl. I was just checking to see if I could get some information on the longest fuel run that you could do in these cars at this track. I thought I had heard it was around 20 laps. If that's the case, he pitted, I think, with what it was at 26 laps left to go in the race, so he's going to have to do some kind of a stop. I'm trying to verify that information now. right now, the advantage Towler has over Crozier is about 20 seconds, so there's no way he can get in and out of the pits that quickly if he does have to pit one more time.
Yeah, absolutely not. Richard Crozier is likely to win this one. Again, you never know until it's over. I mean, these mistakes can happen. Anybody can make a mistake, as we've seen several drivers just miss a corner and go straight off into a tire barrier, and your race is over. I wouldn't bet on that happening with Richard Crozier behind the wheel. However, he is a master of road course racing, and I would be willing to bet that Richard Crozier would be as well suited on an oval as he is on a road course. He's just made the selection to go road course racing as Towler. Big wiggles all around this racetrack. Towler driving it for all he's worth, trying to actually build time between himself and Crozier. I don't think he's going to be able to build enough, though. Second place finish would be nice for Richard Towler as here he comes onto pit road.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to have to take a look back at Crozier now as he's going to work past turn 14, and he's going to have a big advantage. I don't even think Towler's going to get to his stall before Crozier goes by, so advantage Crozier. And if you're Richard Crozier right now, you've got to be relatively relaxed at this point, as you're going to see yourself on the lap counting system going past Richard Towler. Towler not to his pit stall yet, and he's going to have a big advantage with about 13 laps left to go, or yeah, I guess 13, 14 laps left to go. And at this point, all he's got to do is just keep it going the right way, I think. Also, interesting note, too, Daryl, I just wanted to mention, as we were talking about Richard, as you were talking about Richard there, Richard at one point in the iRacing service was the first driver to win a race in every single car that iRacing had, both oval and road. So he is a very accomplished racer on both sides, as Towler is out of the pits now.
And, you know, it speaks volumes to the amount of skill that Richard Crozier has. The first driver to win a race at one point in every vehicle offered up by iRacing. Has he won races in every vehicle that's been released since then? I would be inclined to say more than likely. I'm not positive, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would think so, but it's hard to say. I'm not sure how much V8 racing he's done, and but yeah, I would think he would want to keep that streak alive, especially being the first one to do it. So I wouldn't doubt it. I know he races a lot of stuff. In fact, I think he did an iRacing Pro race earlier today, right before the start of this race, with the V8 supercars. So he is a racing machine, that is for sure.
And it shows here on the racetrack. Shows some great abilities out there on the racetrack, and seat time is a major factor. However, it's not the only factor as you watch Blake Townend work his way up through the field here live on your television or computer screens. Depends on, you know, people can watch computer stuff on their televisions nowadays. It's not the only factor. After all, you could give me all the seat time in the world, and I don't think I would have the ability to keep up with a guy like Richard Crozier. He's got that talent. He's got the knack for it. He's got a lot of seat time. He's got the technical skill. Richard Crozier is a sim racing monster, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a dominant force here within iRacing for years to come.
Yeah, you'd have to think as long as he keeps doing this, he's going to be around racing for big race wins just like this one. I was taking a look running through the field. I believe everybody has completed their final pit stops. So right now it's Crozier out in front, Towler second, Davies third, Sturgis fourth, Varys in the fifth spot. Looks like Blum sixth, Townend in the seventh spot as he is trying to charge back up, at least get a top five out of what looked like could have been a podium finish. Dahlgren up in the 8th, Hannigan up into the 9th spot, so a good run for Chris Hannigan. And Solmanen in the 10th spot.
We'll keep an eye on Chris Hannigan, the driver of the number 33 machine, as he was one of the drivers that identified this racetrack as quite difficult to get around. And one of the big concerns is dipping a tire off into the dirt under braking. It can be so easy to do because you want to use every inch of racetrack that's available to you. You dip that tire off into the dirt under braking, it upsets the car as Chris Hannigan dips the tire on exit here on the number 33 machine. Nice solid run for Hannigan. But you upset the car, and it just starts to go sideways, and all hell breaks loose, literally. That was one of the things that Hannigan said he'd be watching out for here tonight, was dipping that tire off into the dirt, coming into corner number 6, lining up for that 6th turn. He wanted to make sure he didn't get that tire dipped into the dirt.
Yeah, and Chris and looks like Mark Dahlgren right in front of him. Dahlgren went pretty defensive just a few turns ago. Man, both of these guys have pitted within the past 3 or 4 laps, so pretty new tires for both as they're going to try to battle it out. But it looks like Dahlgren's starting to pull away, and that might have been why he went pretty defensive, because maybe he felt like he had the faster race car and didn't want to get held up by Chris, but Chris doing a good job running inside the top 10.
Chris doing a great job inside the top 10. Also, Timo Suvinen running out your top 10 as we've got a machine off into the dirt as everybody slows down. Chris able to try to find his way around the number, I believe that's the 7 machine of Dahlgren. Dahlgren able to retake that spot as trying to double check and see who that was. That was Matthias. I'm not even going to try his last name. Matthias in the 18th position off the lead lap, 5 laps down, was just trying to get out of the way of some of the lead lap machines, and unfortunately it bottled them all up just a little bit. Everybody got through halfway decent, but a little bit of a scary moment for the number 7 of Mark Dahlgren. Towler had followed the lap machine into the corner and may have contributed, at the very least, to the bottleneck that we saw momentarily there as everybody took evasive action. Again, they show some great skill by getting through these incidents and clearing themselves of potential harm. I'm in awe of the amount of skill that we're seeing out here on the racetrack here this evening, Frosty, is these drivers have been doing some amazing things, and maybe a viewer tuning in right now and saying to themselves, wow, they're so stretched out right now. There's not a lot of side-by-side. There's not a lot of really intense racing like you might expect at the end of a race. Here's the simple fact of it, though. If you can appreciate skill and talent above and beyond what the average person has, this is a very entertaining race as Richard Crozier, Richard Towler, Brad Davies, Blake Townend, all these drivers are just displaying some incredible ability out here on the racetrack, just getting these machines around here and the race they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys probably practiced long and hard for this race, all except for obviously probably Towler, who looked like he was a last-minute effort to get into this event, and a very last-minute effort, that is. And we've got 12 cars still on the lead lap. Had a lot of different pit strategies, which is accounting for a lot of the guys being spread out. And what you mentioned right at the start of the race was the most important thing, was keeping these things going in the right direction. And any little off or any little mistake is another reason that you're seeing, and along with the different pit strategies, is why you're seeing everybody kind of so spread out at this point. It is a pretty long race, and right now Crozier's looks like it's his to lose.
Potential battle here on the racetrack. The number 23 of Varish tracking down yet again the number 8 machine of PJ Sturgis. Nice battle within the top 10 as these two drivers just about 0.3 of a second apart last time by the stripe. Sturgis with that 4th position. Varish would like it if it's not too much trouble for PJ Sturgis. PJ would like to keep it for, another 11 laps or so.
Yeah, absolutely he would. Looks like Towler's making up about a second a lap on the leader Crozier, but with only about 10 laps left, that's not going to be enough as he is 26 seconds back.
The only battle on the racetrack right now is that battle for 4th spot as Varish tries to outbrake PJ Sturgis into, I believe that is turn number 5 as they head up the hill to turn number 6, the almost invisible corner. They'll make their way to turn 7, the right-hander here. up the hill a little bit further towards turn number 8. And this is one of those nemesis turns. You really have to get it woed way down for turn number 8.
Pretty good battle for these two guys late in the race. EJ doing a really good job in the 4th spot. This is probably going to go right down to the wire here, Daryl.
It is. As they exit the carousel here, they'll head towards the kink, as they call it, now down through 11A and 11B as kink A or kink B. And they'll head down towards turn number 12, down through Thunder Valley very, very soon. Turn 12, also called the Canada Corner, right here. Turn number 12, work their way through Thunder Valley here at Road America. Turn 13 awaits them, along with turn 14, then the long run uphill on the front stretch towards the start-finish line.
A lot of bacon back there in that Canada Corner.
Except it doesn't look like the bacon that we're used to seeing here in the United States. Those of us in the U.S., the Canadian bacon looks different. That's the point.
Absolutely. Whoa, Towler off the track there a bit. Towler had a bit of an off there at the hairpin down at the end of the hill. We'll take a quick look at that, see how severe it was. Not too bad. Looks like he maybe just kind of created a new braking marker for himself, using all of the track and the runoff.
So Towler trying his best to, at the very least, lock in second place. And that's not bad for no practice. Richard Towler doing a nice job here. And one of the neat things about this racetrack, about Road America, is people are looking at the layout that we're utilizing here, is it's not the only layout that is a potential racing layout. There's also the Briggs & Stratton Motorplex in the infield area, which not in use here within iRacing. There's a few other layouts available to these drivers as well, and I'm a big fan of the Briggs & Stratton Motorplex. Reason for that, it promotes go-kart racing, and to me, go-kart racing is just, it's grassroots racing at its finest. Go-kart racing, and then your local short track racing, which is an absolute blast. If you haven't been out to your local short track and you have one within 100 miles of your residence, you are missing out on some of the best racing action you are going to find anywhere. I know that I'm getting ready to go back to my local short track. I'll be heading out to Hudson International Speedway tomorrow afternoon, weather permitting. Please God, weather permitting. We've already lost 2 consecutive races at the Big H to see some great local racing action. I encourage our viewers to do the same. There's local short track racing and local racing all around this great globe.
Here, I was just taking a look here. Found it interesting to note that right now, top 3, all Drivers World Championship contenders or competitors, I should say, all guys with Drivers World Championship license or World Championship licenses. The other one that we would have thought had a shot to contend for the win, Rory King, looks like he has had to finally retire, and that's a shame because Rory had a quick race car. But right now, top 3 guys, all Drivers World Championship road racing drivers, leading the way in this field.
And you know, it's a neat bit of information, but is it? I don't think we can qualify that as surprising, as Drivers World Championship qualified drivers are considered the best within the iRacing service. And by the way, still time for those of you that are on the outside going, oh, you know what? I am better than Richard Crozier. I am better than Richard Towler and Brad Davies. Pfft, come on now. I wouldn't say that, but there might be some people out there saying that. There's still time for you to get in here and prove that you're among the best in the world. And if you can get in here and prove that you're among the best in the world, thousands of dollars could be coming your way. Of course, the only way you're going to prove it and potentially grab those thousands of dollars is with an account here at iRacing.com. And those in the sim racing know all about iRacing.com. Those of you outside the world of the sim racing know as Richard Towler heads back down pit road, and this will cement the fact that he will not be winning. It likely will bump him out of the top 3, possibly down to 5th or 6th position, depending on how long it takes for this pit stop. For those of you outside the sim racing quote-unquote loop, you can get involved with this going to iRacing.com. You're going to need a steering wheel. You're going to need a halfway decent computer, not a stout, huge, mega gaming computer. This ain't the latest, greatest version of Halo. Moderately powered computer will get the job done. Get out here and go racing with these drivers. You don't technically need a steering wheel. You can do it with a gamepad or a joystick. We recommend a steering wheel, especially if you're going to find yourself and you aspire to find yourself among the best of the best.
Yeah, Towler exiting the pits now in 6th. That's, you know, when we were talking earlier, Daryl, and you mentioned you weren't sure of Richard Towler's strategy, and I said, you know, I'm not sure Towler is sure of his strategy. That might have just been proof of it right there. I mean, just the very lateness of jumping into this thing. He had a top 3 locked up, you know, 2nd place for it looked like for sure. Now Davies into the 2nd spot, Sturgis into 3rd, and Varys into 4th. And I believe Blum gone past as well.
Varys is the most recent driver to get by him, so Blum has not gone by. Varys, however, has gone by, so it's going to be 5th place for Richard Towler, at least for the time being. Davies moves up to 2nd. PJ Sturgis will move up to 3rd position. Not bad for a guy that usually races a super modified, huh?
Not bad at all. Towler now in 5th. Probably got a good shot at getting back up to at least 4th. Got about 7 laps left to go. Maybe he's just going for the ultimate fast lap of the race, possibly. Not really sure. Definitely didn't expect to see him into the pits again. That was a big shocker. But that should probably be Towler's middle name. Big shocker.
Well, you know, Richard Towler also is so good on the oval side. Perhaps he figured, you know what, we'll get ourselves a yellow flag here, and I'll get around these guys. Towler's a phenomenally talented sim racer, and this has just not been his greatest night. But even running in the 5th spot, and with us questioning the forethought behind his pitch strategy, I have no shame in telling you that I don't doubt that Richard Towler would destroy me. Any car, any track, any sim, Richard Towler would destroy me.
Well, Richard's without a doubt one of the best sim racers on the planet, and I think it's fair to say that it would be a different story completely if he had prepared for this race and he just kind of basically jumped into it there at the last minute. It's not really fair to say that, you know, for sure that he would be beating Richard Crozier, but you would think he would at least be up there battling. And Richard Crozier's put in a lot of time and effort into this race and has done his homework, and it's definitely showing. But so you don't want to take away any glory from Crozier, but you would expect Towler to be right there if not, you know, out there winning this thing if he had done a little bit more homework before this race for sure.
Crozier, Davies, and Sturgis, your top 3 right now. Sturgis might find himself involved in a 3-way battle for 3rd spot before the end of this thing. I think that's going to be the hotly contested position, especially with Towler trying to track these drivers down. Fresher tires, he should be able to. Towler might be able to wrestle a third place away, and that would again speak to the skill that Richard Towler has.
Let's check the lap times as they come by this time. Daryl, looks like PJ coming past 2:14.6.
2:15.1 for Elias. So PJ Sturgis just a little bit quicker here late in the going. 6 laps to go.
Towler, fastest lap of the race, 2:10.3. Towler definitely not out of a shot at a podium finish. I was questioning his move there because he had second, looked like pretty locked up, but it looks like he's definitely not out of the running for a podium finish. The big difference, though, Daryl, is going to be before, as we were speaking about everybody being pretty spread out on track and everybody being relatively, I guess, pretty nice to each other, was everybody was on different strategies and didn't really bother to hold anybody up because they knew that. The difference now, when he gets up there to PJ and Varys, they're not going to just pull over and let him by this time.
Oh, absolutely not. Several, you're looking at 5 laps, maybe even 3 or 4 laps to go by the time Richard Towler is able to track these drivers down, and they're trying to get that finishing position now as well. It's not, oh, there's still plenty of time, no big deal, let them go. This is closing laps of this deal, and it's important to these drivers to be able to grab as many positions as they can. So now, yeah, might as well take the chance of maybe stuffing the car on the wall to protect third place, because that's all you're going to get. This is your last opportunity.
Yeah, Richard's one of those, especially in a special event like this, to where points don't really matter. It's more of a winner go home type thing. So you're going to see him go all out, and he is already all the way almost up to Elias here. So he is cranking out some lap times for sure, and we're going to have about 5 laps left to go here. 4 laps left to go.
It's going to be five to go here at the stripe, as Crozier's already gone past the stripe. Significantly further back is the interesting battle where Richard Towler is trying to track down Elias Varys. Varys right there, just on the front bumper of Towler, to try to outbrake him into turn number 1. I don't think he's quite close enough to be able to pull off the outbreak into turn number 1. Perhaps into 3, however. Towler down to the inside of Varys.
Well, that was pretty quick work, wasn't it? We were sitting there talking about how they weren't going to make it so easy, but the newer tires made it that easy for Towler, and he was quickly around Elias Varys and up into the 4th spot, and he should probably, at this point, you would think, be able to pull off 3rd relatively easy.
I don't know. See how wide PJ Sturgis can make that 8 machine. And, here's the thing. For Elias could still wind up taking home 3rd place, especially if Towler and Sturgis get together and take each other out of competition in this one. And it's a good possibility. PJ Sturgis, there's no quitting PJ. If he was to back down and just let Richard Towler go by him for 3rd place, PJ would never hear the end of it from Jake. A little bit of history between PJ and Jake, by the way. PJ, the older of the 2 Sturgis brothers. They both race here within the iRacing world. PJ has always been a level ahead, basically, of Jake in the racing world. Jake always gets the hand-me-downs. Jake's still waiting for his opportunity to drive PJ's small block super as Richard Towler gets right up onto the back bumper of PJ Sturgis, looks to the outside. Nothing Sturgis can do there. Towler will outbrake him into the right-hander. But Jake still waiting for his opportunity to drive that small block super modified. By the way, a day late, but happy birthday to Jake Sturgis. Jake celebrated his birthday yesterday. PJ celebrated his 3 days ago.
Happy birthday, guys. And yeah, I think definitely no fight or no quit in PJ, but it didn't really have anything to do with how much fight PJ had in him. The tires there just definitely winning out. All things being equal, I think that would have been a lot harder for Towler, but newer tires definitely prevailed and made that pass look pretty easy. Much easier than it would have been on all things being equal. equal as far as being on fresh tires and stuff like that, I'm sure.
And not just that, but you know, from the standpoint of the racer being passed up with the older tires, just a couple laps to go, still enough drivers to knock you out of the top 10 if you wind up in the outside fence. You got to worry about your I rating, your safety ratings, a lot of things that go into play here and factor into your decision on whether or not to stuff that car in deep. There's long-lasting and permanent consequences for every move you make in an official iRacing series. That has to play into your mind as well, and fourth place is a heck of a lot better than picking your car out of the fence.
Man, check this out here, Daryl. We've had a really slow last lap by for your second-place driver, Brad Davies. Not quite sure what happened. 2:19, and now Towler can see Davies in front of him.
Yeah, Towler could potentially grab that second place. Well, never mind, no potentially about it. Vroom. Was that a lap car or was that Davies? He just blew by him like he was standing still.
No, that was a lap car. Yeah, Davies.
That was a lap car of Hazim.
Yeah, Davies through the kink now. Car number 10. Got one lap car in between them, but they're definitely, I mean, Towler can probably see Davies at times, you know, in his windshield. So gonna have what 3 laps left to go as they come by the start-finish lap this time. Let's check out Brad's laps. He's let's see, he's been running. Yeah, he's been slowing down. 2:13, then 2:15, then 2:17, then 2:19. This time by a 2:16, so picking it back up a bit. But Towler,
not nearly enough. Towler 2:11.8 that time by. He's not shaving time off. He's taking big, huge whacks with a double-edged axe at that gap between himself and Brad Davies. We could have ourselves a battle for second spot before this thing is over.
Well, he made about 4 seconds on one lap, and the gap is about, I mean, it's only about
4 seconds.
Maybe 4 seconds. Yeah, I was going to say 3.5 to 4 seconds. So it's definitely doable.
Yeah, 3.967 last time the gap between them. How's that for some quick math there, Frosty? 3.967 the gap between the Towler machine and the Davies machine last time by the start-finish line. But it will be considerably lower this time by.
Yeah, you expect Towler to be probably right up on his back door. Just to give you guys an update, the leader, Richard Crozier, way out in front, picking good pit strategies, having a good clean race. He is leading both of these guys by about 55 seconds, give or take a few. So big lead for the leader, Richard Crozier.
Oh, huge lead for Richard. It won't be a full minute win, but it'll be well over 40 seconds to win for Richard Crozier as 2.5 laps remain basically here at Road America, and Crozier, I believe, has already gotten the 2 to go.
It's funny, I was kind of chuckling there. You can tell Davies he's picked up his effort, that's for sure, but it's just the tires, you know, probably not going to help him out. Towler is going to be there, and he's probably going to make it look easy once he gets there because of the newer tires.
But, you know, one of the neat things that we've got is I'm able to select my view here, and I'm watching from the roll bar of Richard Towler's #1 machine, and he is all over the back bumper as they head up the hill. That gap, 3.967 seconds last time by. Yeah, forget about that. That gap now has been shaved down to less than 0.3 of a second.
Davies going to make his car real wide, a little snake job down the straightaway, but it's loose there in the first turn. Just doesn't have the grip. You can tell that Towler has. Oh, some nice blocking going on here.
Slammed the door on Towler, did Davies. These two drivers, they know each other quite well. They've been battling in stock cars on Tuesday nights every couple of weeks here on the broadcasting network, combined with iRacing.com and PSR TV. You can check out the archives at PSRTV.com. By the way, you can download them, high-quality archives. And This might be the corner that Towler's able to get it done. He's been real quick on exit here.
Davies
big wiggle.
Yeah, big time wiggles there from Davies, and you can tell in a lot of these corners that comes up to the long straights, Davies is going real slow in and making sure that he gets the best run out he can, even on those old tires. But what he's also doing is he's slowing Towler's exit down as well and not allowing Towler to get as much of a run on him. So Davies, a veteran racer, both on road and oval, and he's going to do everything he can. Wow, that thing is loose.
Sliding down through the carousel, some dirt track style action. Drifting, if you will, for Brad Davies. Oh, big slide for Davies as Towler tries to get to the inside. Davies again comes out ahead of him. Unbelievable action. Crozier 1 lap to go. He's got the white flag, but the action is the battle for second spot. They have yet to get the white flag. That's how far ahead Richard Crozier is as they head towards the right-hander. And this is where Towler has been eating Brad Davies' lunch as of late. And he will yet again eat the lunch. Didn't even leave him a Twinkie. Towler all over the back bumper of Davies.
You know, Daryl, I have a feeling that Towler on this lap had several opportunities. He could have easily passed Davies there and just didn't do it. And he's probably got a huge grin on his face, if not laughing very hard inside the cockpit of that car. And he's waiting probably until the last lap to just brawl it out and go for second place here, because I think Towler could have already had it done, and some serious blocks being thrown by Brad.
This is some great racing action. Crozier is going to lock down the win. Congratulations. A masterful run for Richard Crozier, but some great action for second spot as Towler takes a peek to the inside. Davies able to slam the door shut. Towler yet again looks down to the inside. You got to wonder, is Towler heating those tires up, getting that car just a little bit greasy? Might he have a little bit harder time getting around Brad Davies? He may have to use the bumper.
I think he's going to get it done right here, probably. He's probably going to try the outside. Davies was real slow. Yeah. He was real slow in that last corner to make sure he got the best exit he could. Oh, yeah, just the tires are just gone. Just gone on that car.
Nothing Al Davies could do, but did he put up a valiant fight or what? Nicely done by Brad Davies. Richard Crozier in the final couple corners of this one here at Road America. 50 laps of basically perfection. Out of turn number 14, he'll head up the hill. Richard Crozier looking to lock down another win here in the world of iRacing. Crozier will cross the stripe, and the Celtic Warrior will take home the win here in this one. Richard Crozier, your race winner. Nicely done for Crozier, and way behind him, and I do mean way behind him, we will find the second place driver of Richard Towler. He's still on the backstretch.
Yeah, a good 50 seconds back, but great battle. It was all worth it between him and Brad. That was an awesome comeback for Richard. We doubted the last pit stop, but if nothing else, it made some great excitement. It looks like Richard's going to take a second place finish with, Davies. Davies is around. Well, not quite around, but sideways. It stopped. And PJ's gone by for third.
Closing straightaways here for this battle for third spot. Davies not going to have enough to catch up to PJ Sturgis, as it's going to be Towler taking second spot. PJ Sturgis takes the third spot. Fourth will go to Brad Davies, and Elias Veras likely will wind up in position number 5. And you know, we can question him all we want, but Richard Towler gave us one heck of a show, didn't he?
That was awesome. It was awesome to watch, and it was a lot of fun. Brad doing an amazing job with a car that was just worn out. I mean, and it showed there at the end. He got a little bit loose, and probably PJ snuck up on him. PJ coming out of nowhere and taking a podium finish. Great job for PJ.
PJ Sturgis, the small block super modified racer who celebrated a win 2 weeks ago, or 8 days ago, I guess you would call it, in the small block supers at Lee USA Speedway, comes home in the third position here tonight at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Nicely done. Richard Crozier takes home the race win. Crozier calls it the race of his life. And tells me that Richard Crozier has had a lot of those over the course of his career. Your top 10, Crozier, Towler, Sturgis, Davies, Veras, Bloom in 6th spot, Dahlgren in 7th, 8th goes to Chris Hannigan, 9th to Kimmo Suominen, and 10th, Landon Harrison. Nice job to Landon Harrison coming home in the 10th position. 9 drivers finishing on the lead lap.
Great job by there, Landon. I think he started back all the way in the 32nd spot, fought his way all the way up into the top 10, so good job for him. Just off the lead lap, so good job by a lot of guys. That was a lot of fun to watch. Hope everybody watching out there had as much fun as I did, especially the closing laps there. Richard and Brad gave us something good to watch there at the end. That was fun.
Oh, it certainly was fun. And now Richard Crozier will have to make sure that he watches the mail, as he's got some brats coming his way. Looking forward to that one for him, especially being overseas. Get some nice, I believe, Johnsonville brats as well. That'd be awfully nice for him. That's going to wrap it up here from Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The site of it, 50 laps are now in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us here. On behalf of Ian Bushing and Ilka and everybody here at the broadcast group, and of course my broadcast partner here, Frosty St. Clair, I'm Darryl Morley. Thanking you so much for tuning in and reminding you, keep the shiny side up and rubber side down, and always, always, always keep that hammer down. We'll see you next time right here on PSR TV.